Thank you. It's almost Hanukkah.
It almost Hanukkah. That's what I was thinking. Exactly. Just a couple more days.
Yeah, we're
2
so
days,
close.
and it's the first night.
So close.
And for those of you who have access to the internet, which is most of you, will be every night for 8 nights at 6:30. We'll have our Hanukkah candle lighting, including Friday.
It's very exciting. We have lots of different things.
On the internet, so you don't have to
We'll be on all
leave
the
your
interwebs.
house, interwebs, yes, all over. That'd be wonderful. So 8 nights. You know, it's that way. By the 8th night, we get it right. We get 8 opportunities. Not 3, but 8.
I felt better today. I was listening to a podcast which is hosted by an actor and a rabbi, and they were arguing back and forth about which direction to, you set them one way and you light them the other way, and it was the rabbi who forgot. And it was interesting. It just made me feel better that she's just like, oh, no, you're right. I was wrong. Okay, see?
It happens.
Everybody forgets.
So I'm glad you're able to join us this evening. It is probably the first cold evening of the season, and that makes everybody shiver. And then in the middle of January, when it is 30 degrees, we're like, oh, I can take off this jacket now. Because it's going to be 10 degrees. So.
Right.
I'm Rabbi Javier Caravan, and I am joined this evening by Leslie, Harris, Warren, and Larry. It's a wonderful team, and thank you especially to Dave Zucker and our Beyond Our Walls committee who are making possible for all of you to join us virtually, and also maybe for you to watch it later. Maybe you're doing something else now and still working, and you
or
get
maybe
home
you
in the
just
evening.
love it enough you want to watch it twice.
That's true too. We are always looking for digital docents. If you would like an opportunity to interact with our virtual audience, you can do this from home as well, and so we can help you with that. We'll do a training for you too. So, for those of you joining us virtually, the PDF that you have online now is the entire Friday night service. So everybody's on equal footing now. Here you have to go one page to another. You have to find your page. At home, you're going to have to find your page too. We used to give it to everybody just like ready to go. You've grown
None of
now.
that anymore.
You've grown now. You can actually find your own pages or just listening. And for all of us here in person, remember that we call the page numbers in the brackets and take a moment to make sure that all your electronic devices are on mute or whatever we call that.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb
Silent.
or airplane mode and all that. It is our tradition to welcome Shabbat together by lighting candles. At home, you can go ahead and light the candles, but here it's my honor to invite Edna Riley to join us to light the candles and welcome Shabbat. We're on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. We continue together on page 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. As we welcome Shabbat together, we continue with Lecha Dodi on page 138, and today we are singing together stanzas 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat,
שמוע וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו המיוחד אדוני, אחד ושמו אחד, ושימו תפארת ולי תהילה
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך האפפה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עליכם לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באור קומי, אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך יגלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שושה ההיק, ורחקו כל מבעל ההיק, יסיס על ההיק ולא ההיק, ימסוס חתן על כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה.
בואי לשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנהי שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. We continue together welcoming Shabbat, Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסון ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מחשבותיך. מזמור השיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה עליון. Technical difficulty.
Dead batteries. I have batteries. Thank you. Carry on.
We would like to carry on, but we need you, so to sing, to lead us in Chatzi Kaddish.
Ever ready, bunny.
Yitzkada shemeraba belma divrachirte ve'amri malchute
bechayechol uvyomechol ubechayechol beit Yisrael bagala ubizman karim
ve'imeru amen. Yehesh meraba mevorach le'alam le'alemaya. Yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitroma, v'yinaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitala, shemeir kedusha b'richu, leila min kol birchata, b'shir ha'ata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma.
Ve'imeru
Amen.
Yai lai lai lai.
Yai lai lai lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai.
Barechu.
Arechu.
Et Adonai.
Et Adonai.
Baruch Adonai.
Baruch Adonai. Hamevorach.
Leolam.
Leolam. Amen. We continue together, page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 150.
Avat olam.
Beit Yisrael, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadetam. Al ken בשוכנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם ועד. תהיה חיינו לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם ולילה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Amen. We join together the top of page 157, and immediately after this reading, we're going to go into Mi Chamocha, and there's a tradition to every time we change a month, if there's a special holiday in that month, and there is one this month, we use some of the melodies from that holiday in some parts of the service. I think you'll recognize it right away. We've done this many years in a row, but so that you know that's coming. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding road by the promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Join together on page 160. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, O guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace, Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Israel ve'al Yerushalayim. Veshameru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat, la'asot et hashabat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Ufiyagi
Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chaster Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevii Geulah Libnei Bneihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Zrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Atah Harav Lehoshia, Ma'ashiv HaRuach U'Morit HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim, Tomech Nofelim V'Rofech Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Gevurot, U'Mido Melach, Melech Memit U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Neiman Atah L'Hachayot Metim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMetim, Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yahallelu Chasela, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
we gather on this Shabbat, we think of those in need of healing. We invite you to post names online if you're able. And for those of us here in person, go around the sanctuary if you have names you'd like to offer. Thank you. Thank you very much. As we think of those in need of healing, we join together, page 371 for the Misha Berach prayer. May the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessings of strength, compassion, and healing to those of us who struggle with the oppression of addiction, emotional distress, and mental suffering. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, companionship, and peace. It is now time for our Simcha moment. We invite you to share a special Simcha. For those of you virtually, you can type them in our different things that we have, Facebook and all those things. We'll try to read them. But for those of us here, we invite you to come in person. There is a microphone here. You can stand there. And once you're finished, we invite you to stay up here for the next piece. Now we ask you, please don't touch the microphone. They will take care of that. And we ask that each person states their name and shares their simcha in just one or two sentences. And we thank you for that.
Realize how tempting it is when you say that. Now I want to touch the microphone. I've never wanted to touch it before. Hi, I'm Leslie, and this week I got to go sing a concert of Hanukkah songs with Susie Adams at Village Shalom, and it was a truly, truly wonderful experience.
While the other person comes up, I had a great week this past week. I was in Washington, D.C. with our confirmation class, and we got to visit the offices of all our lawmakers, and everything went beautifully, and everybody at all the offices, no matter what their politics might be, they were absolutely delighted to see us. Somebody who came all the way from Kansas to visit them, and they actually, they listened in, and they had very nice feedback for our students about what they were proposing, and say, well, the senator is interested in that, but his sister in this too. It was a wonderful, and then we get a special treat. I'm sorry, it's more than two sentences, but I don't ever do this. So, and Carol's not here, so she doesn't count. She's gonna kill me. Hi, Carol. So, anyways, we got to ride the Senate subway. So we were escorted underground to all the different places.
That's cool.
Yes.
Well, this might be a little bit longer than 2 sentences.
But it can be as long as I am. I'm the only one.
Okay. Marilyn Lewandowski, and I had a good week starting out with Monday, and my older son, wife, and little granddaughter came over to visit, brought supper. And I brought a friend today. She actually lives here, but she's from Kenya. And she owns her own healthcare company, and she named it after the last Hebrew letter, which is Tav. And this is warm climate here. My son had to fly in. He repairs robots for pharmacies. And they flew him into Alaska, and with only dress shoes he had and 3 feet of snow.
Laura Infant, if you don't know, used to live in Alaska, right? Yeah. And the rabbi in Alaska was Rabbi Rosenfeld, who, after Alaska, took a position in Buffalo, New York, is the only rabbi who moved to Buffalo for the weather.
Also, one other thing, I asked Edna to ask for me to join a Torah group on Saturdays, and they mentioned you specifically. They said they love your voice, and they tune in and watch the service.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Shabbat Shalom, I'm Warren. My son Jason is the assistant choir director at both Olathe East and Olathe South, and at both their winter concerts they did Hanukkah songs, and he asked me to play clarinet along with the choir, so that was way too much fun. Got to collaborate.
We're exporting you now to the...
What's that?
We're exporting...
Yeah, I'm getting exported. I love that.
They heard about the great clarinet. That's right. I'm sure that heard. I love it.
My name's Andrea Zwiebelman, and I'm not on the X, sorry. My name's Andrea Zwiebelman, and pardon my outfit, I've been freezing cold, and I just feel it was an incredible blessing. I made it to and from Connecticut. I drove there, and I had safe travels to visit my daughter for her birthday, and my farmhouse is a farmhouse. It's all been built except for the inside, so I'm very excited. That, hence the clothing. It's very cold out there.
You look like a farmer, that's for sure.
It was so cold.
I like the farmer.
That's so cool.
Andrea the farmer. Sounds like somebody will write a Jewish story about Andrea the farmer. For little girls that want to be farmers, Jewish farmers with payas. Yes.
I came up to take Carol's place. My name is Edna, but I won't talk long. This is my first Shabbat since my bat mitzvah. And I would have been here before, but I was sick. But I'm well now.
I totally missed it because I wasn't here. So. I'm looking online. I don't see anybody else who's sharing. All righty. So today I have a poem by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. It's called In the Dark. Now, you wonder, why is a rabbi reading a poem called In the Dark 2 days before the Festival of Lights?
Because
Why?
it's dark and we're going to light lights.
Maybe. It so happened that the Shabbat before Hanukkah is always Shabbat Vayeshev, which is this week's Torah portion. And in this week's Torah portion, we have the very beginning of the story of Joseph. And of course, that Joseph does very well, but in this week's Torah portion, not so well. So he encounters his brothers. He's looking for his brothers. And first he found a man, we don't know, someone in the streets. They're over there. And then when he meets them up, he ends up in the dark pit. Right. And then from then on, it keeps going down, down, down now. Sometimes the rabbis really, really made the readings. This one is kind of hard to explain how it always happens before, because there's so many variables for Torah portions. But it works beautifully for the poem, because it is really the story of getting dark. It's also getting dark here in the northern hemisphere, at least. And we get into the darkest point in the life of Joseph, right before Hanukkah. And then, of course, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people may not realize that the Torah portion doesn't change on Sunday, but actually on Saturday afternoon. So if you ever go to a service for Mincha on Shabbat, the Torah portion that is read there is next week's Torah portion. So when Hanukkah begins, it's already next week's Torah portion, and by next week, Joseph seems to be okay. But not this week. So here is Rabbi Berenblatt's poem for this week's state of mind and physical situation in which Joseph finds himself in the dark. The mysterious unnamed man is always a messenger sent to keep our story moving in the right direction. The appropriate answer is always Hineni, here I am, ready for whatever pitch is up God's sleeves. Into the pit, out of the pit, from slavery into service, descent always contains the seeds of ascent. He had to be enslaved in order to be accused, had to be accused in order to be imprisoned, had to be imprisoned in order to hear the dreams of the cupbearer and the baker, which surely God can interpret, had to interpret dreams in order to sire Freud, and few hundred generations down the ancestral line. But the cupbearer forgets, leaving Joseph in the dark as the longest night of the year threatens to swallow us whole. We now gather all our simchas and offer a prayer, divine source of blessing. We thank you for everything that enriches our lives. And now we turn to you with gratitude for those who have shared the happiness of birthdays, anniversaries, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai be with us now and always. May we be blessed with strength to overcome sickness and sorrow, and with much health and happiness now and always. As we honor each one of you and all of us for the gifts that we bring to this sacred community, together we join in song to mark this sacred occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'eheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu l'tzal hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'eheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu l'tzal hazeh. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. It's great to see you. So it is that time of the year when we spend a few minutes, we call it Ask the Rabbi. It's really a chance for you to ask questions and for me to talk about something else to answer the question. But I'm going to try to answer your Hanukkah questions, only about the Festival of Lights. And if you don't have any questions, of course, I have a plan B. But until then, let's hear it. So, and we're monitoring, are we monitoring the online too? Sorry. Because there's only one guy in the back. So, and I'm going to come down here. So, I think Leslie's going to repeat the questions if need be. Thank you. We have a system. So, Hanukkah is Sunday. What are your questions?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, please.
The guy in the back of the room. Why is Hanukkah not in the Torah?
Why is Hanukkah not in the Torah?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, the answer is it is and it is not. And I'll tell you why. Well, of course I'll tell you why, because I already got into this thing. I'm going to have to tell you why. So what? It is not in the Torah because historically speaking, it did not happen until much later. in the 2nd century before the Common Era, so that's way after all the events in the Torah. However, there is a model holiday for Hanukkah, at least for some parts of Hanukkah, that it's in the Torah, and that is the festival that we know now as the festival of Sukkot. The reason is because the year during which they were fighting for about 2 years or so, from 135 until 133 or so, thereabouts, before the Common Era, they were not able to celebrate the festival of Sukkot, the tabernacles, whatever we call it. And I don't want to say the word that everybody, the word, you know what word is complicated? It's the festival of booths. Because they end up being the festival of booths, apparently. So I avoid the word booth. So I go with tabernacles, because I can do that.
It's good to know.
But I can do Sukkot, and that's fine. Or Sukkos, as they say. So it is not, but at least the original idea of why we have to have a festival that lasts 8 days, at least in the original holiday, it goes back to, it's basically, historians say, call Hanukkah an example of Sukkot delayed. Now, you got to be careful because we think that the holidays in the 2nd century before the Common Era were celebrated like we celebrate them today. The answer, if you think that, you are 100% wrong. Because the way that we celebrate holidays today, it's rabbinic. So it's post the destruction of the temple, post the year 70, more likely the 2nd, 3rd century. In the time of the Maccabees, the way that the festival of Sukkot was celebrated was all around the temple. There were sacrifices, there were different things that happened there, and you do know this part, right? They could not have access to the temple because it had been taken over by other groups, and I don't want to get too much deep, but it's Jews and Jews who are sympathizers of this foreign religion that it's getting there. So the point, though, is that according to the Maccabees' view of what Judaism should be, and the Maccabees are the descendants of Mattathiao of the house of Hasmonai, and those are actually a priestly family. And so for them, everything that has to do with Judaism has to happen around the temple. Later on, of course, and at the same time, but much later, another 300-400 years later, things change, and then Judaism is what the rabbis say Judaism is, not so much what the priests say anymore. But that doesn't have for another 500 years. So. Good. Could you ask a question?
Any other corollaries between Sukkot and Hanukkah other than 8 days?
So, yes. So, for instance, only for the 3 pilgrimage holidays, Passover, Sukkot, Shavuot and Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot and Sukkot, we are to recite a full Hallel, which is Psalms like 113 through 119, something like that. Don't quote me on those. So we never do them all here, so it's always one. So, but that's a full Hallel. So no other post-biblical holiday, like Purim, for instance, has Hallel in it, but Hanukkah does. And the reason the rabbis give is because it's Sukkot. So because of Sukkot, because Hanukkah is another opportunity to celebrate Sukkot, in a sense, then we say Hallel in the prayers, which is kind of unusual, because there's no reason, I mean, seriously, there's no reason why we shouldn't recite Hallel for Purim, right? I mean, it's pretty awesome what happened. Hallel is the songs of praise. so it would be suitable. But because it's post-biblical, well, it's not post-biblical, but it's after the biblical time itself, and it's not in the Torah, the rabbis didn't think that Hallel was merited. But Sukkot, they know, Hanukkah, they know it's related to Sukkot. Although, of course, we don't teach this in school or in religious school. Yes. Okay, now he knows my tricks, so. Oh, thank you. Well, it's not actually. What's the question?
Argentina is playing in the World Cup on the day leading right into the first night of Hanukkah, and we're wondering if there's a connection.
So, no, but maybe it will be after sunset. Okay, so it is in Hanukkah. Yes,
It will be Hanukkah in Qatar.
No, the only implication is that it's not a problem because Orthodox Jews in Argentina will be able to watch it because there are no prohibitions. And this is another thing, it is Sukkot. However, there's nothing like the first night of Hanukkah and the last night of Hanukkah are more important. They're all the same. So some things transfer, but that one did not, so they can turn TVs on the first day of Hanukkah. The only quote-unquote mitzvah for Hanukkah is the lighting of the candles. There's nothing else.
A great
Nothing else.
miracle happened there. I have a question. Why do we set up right to left and light left to right?
Because that's the rabbi who won the argument.
But did you ask the question, please,
Yes.
first?
Why do we set up from right to left and light the candles
You can't get good help anymore.
from left to right? I'm really close to being right on this one.
So first of all, it is true that some interpretation happened that I just want to show you so that you know the festivals of the Jewish calendar, Sukkot, Pesach, Shabbat, every one of them gets a whole tractate in the Mishnah, which means they had a whole tractate in the Talmud. The names are the same. Hanukkah gets 2 pages, 2 pages inside a whole tractate on Shabbat, which is one of the longest. So 2 pages. And most of the discussion, which I actually tried to teach it at one of our classes once, I lost them after the first half hour because it's all about the wicks and the candle, how do you make oil, and it's just very germane and unimportant, except for this section. Now, this section is the only section that tells us anything about Hanukkah. And in this it says nothing about the order, all right? So there were several, versions of how you light them. And here in the tractate Shabbat, there's a whole thing about, that you put them all out by the door, but it doesn't explain first, last, whatever. So until in the times of very, very, very famous kind of disputes, and these are individuals, but also kind of groups of thoughts, kind of schools of philosophy. And a lot of people are familiar with them. It's the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai. So the school of Shammai said, because this is what people did, you light 8 candles every day, because the miracle is that the candles stay lit 8 days, not 1 candle the first day, 2 candles the second day. Who comes up with that? I mean, that makes no sense. The people for Shammai say, right? But the story is that the candelabrum, the 7-branch candelabrum, the menorah that was inside the temple, stayed lit for 8 nights. All right, although there was only oil for 7. So the miracle is every night they're 7. You get anyways. 7, 8. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't. The originally didn't matter because they only had 7. So then they are thinking, well, okay, I understand that, but if we're going to teach something, what do you want to teach? And Hillel says, well, we say in other things in general that we want to do things in increments. Like we want to bring more holiness into the word, not less every night. And Shammai had the thought, well, we do 8, and then we light fewer every night. And in that way, we show that, the miracle kind of winding down, because it did, right? There was not enough oil for a 9th day, right? Now, why 8 and not 9?
Sukkot?
It's Sukkot. That's the only answer, right? Because there's really no other way around. Because 8 and 9, there's no miracle number here. But that's the real reason is Sukkot. However, Hillel had a better point. If you're going to use Hanukkah to teach some interesting and important lesson, the lesson should be that we increase in holiness and Kedusha. Therefore, let's start lighting that way. However, the point of how do you light them in order is that the one that let's say you got the second day, all right? So the first one is on the right, the second is on the left. It could have worked the other way, but this is how they did it. Because, in Hebrew, things come from right to left. So, however, the blessing, the same blessing for Shabbat, actually, the blessing for Hanukkah says, Ner Shel Hanukkah, right? Although we call it the Festival of the Lights, and we say let's light the Hanukkah candles, the blessing does not say candles. The plural of the word Ner is Nerot, but the singular is Ner. It says Ner Shel Hanukkah. It says Ner Shel Shabbat. Mm-hmm. And so you're saying the blessing only for one candle or one light every night. And the one that you added that day, that's the one for that night. That's plain and simple. How you light the others is really irrelevant. Hillel didn't tell us. The tradition, though, is that you try to go in order. If you like the 6th, then you like the 5th, the 4th. But if you say, I like the 7th, and then I go 1, 5, 4, 3, nobody cares. Because at that point, the blessing is for the candle that you lit.
Your wife cares. Just making it clear.
Okay, how are you doing time-wise?
You have 1 minute and 13 seconds.
All right, well, we may have another question here. Andrea the farmer. Yes.
Maccabees fought for
so
religious
go ahead.
freedom.
Give me your question. Did the Maccabees?
Did the Maccabees fight for religious freedom? Is that part of the miracle that the Maccabees were such a small group and defeated such an organized, large?
Well, you're telling her what some rabbis call pediatric Judaism. We know very little about the candles, and so it's really up to the rabbis to do as they pleased, and they did. Thank you. Let me finish this thought. But we do know a lot about what actually happened with the Maccabees. Unlike the rabbinic sources that has 2 pages in one tractate in the Talmud, in the non-canonical books, in other words, books that are Jewish books, but we did not make it to the canon of the Hebrew Bible, and that's a historical reason, but they didn't. We actually have either 2 or 4, depends how you divide them, Book of Maccabees, which explains in detail the whole thing. So, to answer your first question, were they fighting for freedom of religion? The answer is yes and no. Yes, in a very general sense, but the Maccabees were priests. They did not believe in the separation of state and church. Not at all. They actually are considered by the traditional understanding of who's supposed to be the king of Israel as usurpers of the throne, because you had to be from the house of David to be able to be king of Israel. And obviously the Maccabees were not, right? Because the priests are descendants of the house of Levi, and David was not from the house of Levi. So, boom, they're out of luck. So yes, freedom of religion. If we Reformed Jews were living in times of the Maccabees, I can guarantee you we would have no freedom to do anything. So I'm just giving you the actual adult version of that. And about the numbers of them, well, yeah, they start smaller, but they actually got bigger, according to the book of Maccabees. And their advantage was that they did not fight the armies in the open fields. They fought a guerrilla war for about 3 years. And the other got tired, and also the Hellenistic forces were a mishmash of different groups, supported by, guess what? The other half of the Jewish population. So one half was with the Maccabees, the other half was with the Hellenistic. So it was a civil war between Jews, one group supported by the Hellenistic armies, and eventually they got tired. They had other things to do somewhere else, like the Romans. After a while, it's like, the Jews are too complicated, because Jews are the only ones who rebel against the Romans, the Roman Empire in mass like that, and so happened with this. So they say, we're out of here. You guys can fight this on by yourselves. And so the Maccabees came to power, and they restored the sovereignty. But now, this is a unique thing about it. I'm going to finish with a unique thing of the Maccabees that people don't remember or don't realize. In the end of what we call the First Commonwealth, which was established by David in the year 1000 or so, and it ends in the 6th century, 586. That Commonwealth was a king and then a priestly, caste and all the accoutrements of that. The Second Commonwealth is a straight theocracy. The king is the high priest. There's nothing. It's all theocracy, and it's a theocracy that failed terribly to the point that like theocracies do.
It's bad.
Totally bad. And so it ended with the destruction of the Second Temple, and nobody wanted anything to do with the Maccabees for 300 years or more. Actually, for 2,000 years, because they kind of got rehabilitated by the Zionist movement, but only the story in the book of Maccabees. The miracle piece, not so much. So, but only in that they fought a guerrilla war, like the Haganah was fighting a guerrilla war against the British, but not on the priest thing. So, and that's in 1948. It's what we call in Jewish history the Third Commonwealth, which started as a secular, and I'm afraid that it may be turning into a theocracy any day here. So I'm not very hopeful there, but it's just happening. So we'll see. Time will tell. But it started really as a secular state, and we'll hope and pray and do whatever we can that stays that way. So history has a way to repeat itself, but not really. Not really. It doesn't. It's kind of similar, but it's always different. Thank God for that. Thank you. Great questions, everybody.
Yeah, those were some really, really nice questions. I didn't even have to use mine.
Oh, thank you very much. Tomorrow. Yeah, we have a little more tomorrow. If you are able, we invite you to stand on page 586 for Aleinu L'Shabach.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. As we gather as a community, we are observing the Shloshim period for Gary Goldberg, brother and brother-in-law of Ronnie and Larry Lerner. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Clara Hyman Byler, Abraham Breslau, Leah Brown, Riva Brown, Dr. Bernard M. Capper, James Jim Edward Cohn, Marianne Evans, Simi Fassbinder, Andrew Guinness, Mildred Kaufman Granoff, Amy Lynn Kirstein, Salar Khalili, Irving Klenock, Jeannie Levine, Shirley Haken Levin, Levin, this one is Levin, I apologize. Barbara Bobby Elaine Levy, B. Liphoff, Kathy Lowenstein, Luther W. Dude Markham, Billy Joan Mitchell, Florence Morris, Sarah Pittler, Celia Rabineau, Lucille Rowland, Sophie Sater, Leah Sains, Mendel Small, Alice Sullivan, Israel Weinling, Fanny Weingarten, Vladimir Silberstein. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Kaddish Yatom, it's page 598. Itgadal ve'itkadash shemeh rabba, be'alema divra chirute ve'amlich malchute, bechaychon uvemechon uvechaye dechol beit Israel, ba'agala uvizman kari vimru amen. Yehe shemei rabba mevarach le'alam ule'lemei alemaya, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תוש בחתה ונחמקה דאמירם ולמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, אמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. we have some announcements? I wrote a Viva song. Now I'm here. You have to get along. Okay.
So thank you to Harris, Larry, Warren, and Leslie for the wonderful music.
Our Shalom Squad tonight, thank you to Scott Franklin, and thank you to everyone who made our worship possible, Edna Riley and Valerie Tokar, and to the CBT bakers for tonight's oneg. Y'all, I was working today. It smells so good in the kitchen. I cannot wait to get out there.
So tomorrow, Shabbat, we will have Sichat Shabbat at 9, and then at 10:30 is our service. Sichat Shabbat, we have it on Zoom, and the service will be streamed.
Hanukkah is almost here. Please join us nightly for candle lighting on all of our streaming platforms. That will always happen at 6:30 p.m.
And speaking about Hanukkah, we have so much Hanukkah going at Beth Torah. Are you ready? So stop by during business hours to snap a photo with our Hanukkah holiday backdrop. Thank you to the Swinton Ginsburg family for the holiday fun. I haven't taken a picture yet. But
Tuesday night is our Hanukkah song session. Please note we are starting a half hour earlier. We're going to start at 6:30 so that we can do the Hanukkah candle lighting and then move right into song session.
And a week from today, as is always the case, there's always one Shabbat during Hanukkah, and it is next Friday. Bring your Chanukkiot, which is another name for a Hanukkah menorah, and your candles, and wear your favorite Hanukkah outfit. Especially, I hear ugly Hanukkah sweaters are a big hit. And stick around for some tasty treats.
And looking just a little bit ahead, Shabbat Shirah rehearsals start in 2 weeks. Our first choir rehearsal is Wednesday, January 4th. If you are interested in being in the choir or in the band, email me.
Everything can be found on our website and all that. And make sure that after our closing song, you join us in the Ulam for Kiddush Amotzi and the special oneg with a special baked good. Thank you very much. Until then, in the spirit of Hanukkah, one of the prayers that are part of the liturgy, Al Hanisim, if you're able, please stand. And this is about all the miracles and all the liberation and the wonderful things and the salvation and the wars that God did for our ancestors at this time of the year.
Al Hanisim ve'al hafurkan ve'al hakurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al hafurkan ve'al hakurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al hafurkan ve'al hagurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Bayamim hahem bazman hazeh.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Take care of each other out there.